Hello, my name is Michael Weldon, and the title of this speech is called Mountain, and it's about the time me and my friends over 2 summers ago went to hike a mountain in New York. So we woke up early in the morning and we got all of our bags packed. We packed things like water, some snacks, and a first aid kit just in case anyone got hurt. We didn't look at the forecast that day, which was one of our first mistakes, and we also didn't have the right shoes on at all. Like, we all had sneakers, which was a second mistake, and you'll see why later. So we got everything packed and we drove to the mountain. The mountain was about 3 or 4 hours away, so that's another reason why we woke up pretty early, was because we weren't looking to hike into the night. So we got up probably at around 6 to pack. So we packed, we drove about 4 hours, and then once we got there, we found a parking lot right next to where the trail was, because it was a pretty popular mountain to hike. It wasn't like anything secluded, so that was a good thing. So we found a place to park. We were one of the only cars there that day, which we thought was a good thing because we just didn't want any interruptions. So we parked, went on the trail, and we saw a sign, and the sign said the mountain was 3 miles up and 3 miles down. So we didn't know it was going to be about that long. So we didn't think too much of it because we were like, okay, 6 miles, it's not that big of a deal, we'll keep going. So we started going, and about an hour into the hike, it starts like raining pretty hard, especially for New York. And the rocks that were on the mountain that we were walking over most of the time were very slippery, so it was very hard to climb the mountain. So we kept going. We had to go a little bit slower though, because there were about 4 of us and we had to wait for everyone to get up certain parts, and the rocks were slippery, so it obviously slowed us down a lot more. We packed enough water. We made it all the way to the top in about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours I would say. And then we got to the top, we walked around for a little bit. We were hoping to see a very good view at the top. That's one of the main reasons why we hiked this mountain, but there really wasn't a good view at all because of how foggy and rainy it was. So we stayed up at the top for about 25 minutes. We had like a snack up there, and then we started going back down. And when we started going back down is when we faced the real struggle, because going up wasn't that hard when it was wet, but going down the mountain while it was soaked on the slippery rocks and mud was even harder. So we started going down, and one of my friends, about 30 minutes into going down, slipped and he hurt his elbow pretty bad. And we didn't think too much of it. We just gave him a band-aid and told him to apply pressure and to make the bleeding stop. And the bleeding did stop after a little bit, and then we kept going. I fell down myself a whole bunch of times and I was filthy by the end of it. But we made it all the way down, and my friend in the car was complaining about his elbow being hurt again. We were like, okay, that's a little weird, like it shouldn't, like you should be fine, but like it is a scratch, so it's bound to hurt. So we took the band-aid off of it and we looked at it, and it was a pretty deep cut. So we ended up going to a hospital nearby, and they looked at it and he ended up needing stitches. And had he had worn the right shoes, he would not have needed stitches. So the moral of the story is just be prepared when you go on hikes like this. Like, check the weather, make sure you have all the right gear on, because he ended up needing stitches and then he had to go back to the hospital 3 months later